welcome to another episode of Tesseract Talks, the place where we put the spotlight on tech trends, startups, and VCs. I'm your host, Marko, the founder and CEO of Tesseract Analytics, and it is my pleasure today to have Daniel Burrus as our guest. He's one of the world's leading futurists on global technology-driven trends and disruptive innovation. A New York Times bestselling author of 7 books, business advisor, a keynote speaker, and a LinkedIn top voice with almost 1.2 million followers. Daniel, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So why don't we start by you telling us briefly about your career background? What led you to become a futurist? And what key moments shaped your focus on technology trends?
Well, we're all going to spend the rest of our life in the future, and that always interested me back from when I was quite young. And I've also always been interested in technology, perhaps because my dad was an engineer and did some patents. And we had a lot of people visiting the house that were innovators from around the world when I was a little kid growing up. So I was stimulated on technology. And I started out teaching biology and physics. I did that for a number of years. Got an Educator of the Year award, so I was good at teaching. And by the way, that's why I'm here with all of you today. It's not to tell you some things. I want to teach you some things that I think can help you beyond this podcast. I also then started 6 companies. The first one was in aviation. I had my own airplane design. I was a test pilot for it. Ended up with 37 national locations in the first year, profitable in the first year. I've started, again, a number of businesses. Let's see, what is it? Out of the 6, 5 were profitable in the first year. 4 were national leaders in the United States in the first year. So instead of me just saying, I'm cool, I want to show you guys how to do this, because you can do this as well. I started my research company many, many decades ago, and we researched global innovations in all areas of technology: lasers, robots, genetics, fiber optics, artificial intelligence, neural networks, AI, you name it. And I've developed these strategies that we'll share today that can help you to, again, accelerate positive, profitable growth and pick winners when you're thinking about investing.
Okay, great. There are so many topics that we can touch upon and discuss, so we'll try and keep it to the point. So maybe let's start by talking a bit about one of your books, The Anticipatory Organization. And maybe in the book, you talk about using certainty to drive innovation. So can you maybe explain a bit about that? Maybe give us some key takeaways from the book, and also maybe how can startups apply that approach today in this world of AI?
Well, whether it's a personal strategy or a business strategy, if it's based on uncertainty, you have high risk. On the other hand, if it's based on certainty, you've got low risk and high reward. So out of all the things that we're uncertain about, and probably on planet Earth, there's more uncertainty now than ever before, I say, well, is it only death and taxes that I can be certain about, or is there more to it? And there's a lot more to it. For example, let me give you a technology example, a simple one to start with. We went from 3G wireless to 4G wireless to 5G wireless. Is that it? No, we're going to be going to 6G wireless and 7G wireless. And if you look at the exponential curve of these digital technologies, you can even know the date it will come out. I've been able to nail it back in 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G exactly. And by the way, the times are getting less on that. We're putting a lot in the cloud. Wait, is the cloud getting full? No. And if you don't like AI, can you turn it off? No, that's a hard trend growing at exponential speeds. The key is, how are you using it? So I mentioned that word hard trends, and what I want to now teach a little bit of, and that is that the reason I did not call my last book The Reactionary Organization. Frankly, I think we got that down. I want us to be more anticipatory. And I developed a methodology over the decades that works amazingly well. Hundreds of companies are using it around the world, including the Department of Defense in the US and defense contractors around the world and so on. Google, hey, you can do this too. So here's basically the idea. All trends are either what I call a hard trend based on a future fact that will happen. Now, the key there is it can't be changed. That's the litmus test. Can it be changed? Well, then it's not hard. But if it can't be changed, a demographic example, baby boomers are not going to get chronologically younger. They're going to get older. By the way, hard trend. Many of them will be retiring. You can even tell the dates they'll be retiring. But will they take their knowledge and wisdom with them? That, my friends, is not a hard trend. That is a soft trend. You see, hard trends are based on future facts that will happen, that can't be changed. A soft trend is based on an assumption that may or may not happen. And by the way, as an entrepreneur, I love both. What do I love about a soft trend? If you don't like it, you can change it. What do I love about a hard trend? I can see disruption before it disrupts, turning disruption into an opportunity. I can become the positive disruptor, creating the transformations that need to happen to elevate relevancy and accelerate innovation and profitable growth. I can also use hard trends to see problems before I have them so I can pre-solve them. I mean, hey, how many times have you all said, well, I knew that would happen? And I would say, then why did you let it? That's because you didn't have the confidence. But this system gives you the confidence because you know this will happen if you don't act on it. The soft trend, again, if you don't like it, you can change it. I mentioned baby boomers. Let me give you a quick example. And let's be entrepreneurs. Let's invent something that doesn't happen today. It's not happening today. And I'll show you how you can make this work. Right now, with a perfect example using soft trends. The hard trend is as people get older, 80s, 90s, they tend to fall. And when they fall, they can break a hip. Matter of fact, I have a friend that just had his mother break a hip at 85. And, that can be deadly and expensive. So why is that? Well, their sight isn't that good. Their balance isn't that good. A lot of times when they're looking down, but they're looking up there, it's a little blurry. So why don't we invent now a little rubber thing that goes around any shoe, and on the front is a sensor. By the way, the sensor I'm about to describe can be 3D printed and the size of a fly's eye, and that's today. It's Bluetooth to their hearing aid. And by the way, if they don't have a hearing aid, we'll call it a hearing enhancement device. And they put it in their ear, and when they're walking, it can say, step up, step down. Johnny's toy's in the way again. That could do a lot. So, by the way, there is no thing like that. That doesn't exist. Now, I want you in your mind to ask yourself, no way, we're never going to see something like that. Well, you already know, yes, we will, because if it can be done, if it will be done, if it's based on a hard trend, hey, it's going to happen because we have a lot of aging populations. In the United States, for example, 10,000 people are turning 70 every day. By the way, what's that called? A market, all right? And we know exactly where the aging populations are. One other little example using that same demographic, and that is they get weak. They aren't strong in their lower legs and their ankles. They don't have the muscles anymore. They've been sitting watching TV too much. They've allowed themselves to get overweight. This is true of a lot of aging 80 and 90-year-olds. Well, there's something called an exoskeleton, which means that a 90-pound nurse can lift a 200-pound patient in bed without straining their back thanks to an exoskeleton. Well, I know we could invent a very lightweight exoskeleton for the lower legs and ankles for aging people. In other words, they would have the strength of you and I right now. Combine that with the little sensor, people wouldn't be breaking their hips. Now, by the way, that exoskeleton I described does not exist right now. Could it be invented today? By the way, I know the tech. Yes, it could. I'm busy. I'm not going to do it. Why don't some of you make $1 billion and do that? Now, I could go on and on and on, but I want to give you a chance to ask me some questions. And I'm named in hundreds of patents by doing what I just did for you in my speeches and so on, giving ideas that are going to happen. And every now and then somebody's listening saying, hey, I'm going to do that. And of course, they usually have to state the source of where they got the idea. So anyway, we can do this.
Yeah. Navigating between and understanding what are the hard trends and then soft trends. Hard trends more the ones that won't change depending on the hypes. It's a given. And then soft trends, something that comes and goes.
And let me also say, hard trends lets you look very far out into the future. I was just looking at my 1993 book, Techno Trends, which was another bestseller. And there's a little section there that says, Blockbuster is busted. And if you read underneath it, you'll get a perfect description of what Netflix became with accurate timeframes. I also had in there what I called the telecomputer. I didn't know they would call it an iPhone, but I described it perfectly and was able to give you when it would come out. Now, instead of me saying, I'm cool, I want you all to be able to do this. So you can accurately go way out predicting the future and be right. So there's two things I want to teach you here. And you mentioned one, The second one is really important. One, either a trend will either be a hard trend based on a future fact that will happen, giving you certainty in an uncertain world, allowing you to innovate with no low risk, or it's a soft trend based on an assumption that may or may not happen. And by the way, if you don't like it, you can change it. That's the benefit. So that's number one. The second is a trend by itself is academic. That's why most of us don't spend time with them. However, the minute you attach an opportunity to a trend, it bursts into action. So whenever you say, hey, that's a soft trend, that could be changed. All right. What's the opportunity for you as an innovator, as an entrepreneur? When you see a hard trend, demographic, it might be technology, whatever it is, and you say, well, that's going to happen. I know it will happen. All right. So what's the opportunity for you? Make a list of those hard and soft trend opportunities and then pick one and make it happen.
Fascinating. And I mean, one of the most promising and I would say equally concerning topics that we keep on hearing in the media recently is the rise of the augmented workforce. Can you tell us how is AI changing the role of a human worker and what should leaders understand about this shift? Are we all going to be replaced? Who is safe, who is not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when OpenAI first launched ChatGPT, I was interviewed and quoted around the world by saying, because the question was, will humans be replaced by AI? My answer, humans will be replaced by humans using AI. And by the way, we have a productivity revolution unfolding right now, rapidly. Time to join the revolution. We can talk more about AI in just a minute, but let me stay with your question on augmented workforce. Let me tell you how it works with an example. A lot of people get cancer, and when they get cancer, they go to a doctor that is an oncologist. The oncologist is the doctor that specializes in cancer treatments. And right now, AI has already scoured and learned everything about cancer studies, cancer research, cancer outcomes. It knows every chemotherapy that was ever tried, that which works, that which doesn't. It knows about genetics. It already knows more than any living doctor. All right. So let's say that you know someone, heaven forbid, that has cancer. I'm going to give you three choices. Number one, a really good oncologist. Number two, just AI. Number three, a really good oncologist that has access to AI. Bingo. That's called augmented workforce. We're not replacing you. We know what we're doing. We're elevating you. We're elevating all of us because, frankly, most of us are coasting along if we've been in a career for a long time. And by the way, you can only coast down, and there is a bottom. What I want to do is elevate us, free us from the drudgery, free us from things. And by the way, there are things that AI can do that humans can't do. And by the way, there's things that humans can do that AI can't do, like create a relationship, elevate trust, have empathy, and I could go on. There are human characteristics that are powerful. We live in a technology-enabled world, yes, but we live in a human world. Don't forget that. And it is based on relationships, and a good relationship is based on trust. Trust is not gained by AI alone. All right. One other little quick thing. There is no such thing as artificial wisdom. Think about that. All right. So it's tapping into our higher level thoughts process. And if you don't like to learn and you don't like change, you will not like the future.
You've been covering technology trends since the 80s, and you've probably seen a lot of new technology trends that grew into mainstream, but also some that were just a hype. What excites you about Gen AI? You've already touched upon a bit, but also what are the blind spots or hype traps companies should watch out for around this Gen AI?
Yeah, I did. And I've been named a top 10 AI influencer over and over again. And I do a lot with AI as a strategic advisor. So here's a couple things. Number one, it's not all just generative AI. There's another type of AI that is even newer than generative AI. By the way, I've been writing about that for the last 15 years with time frames. Now we have it. It's called, think of it as intelligent agents. All right. So it's agentic AI. So we have generative AI and agentic AI. Okay, simply, I'm going to give you a really simple way to understand the difference because they are both powerful and agentic AI is just really coming on strong right now. Generative AI is about creating. I need to create some code. I need to create a picture. I need to create some text. I need to create a marketing document. I need to create an audio. I need to create a video. Generative AI is about creating. Agentic AI is different. It's about doing. It doesn't create, it does. A perfect example is a self-driving taxi. Basically, that is agentic AI because we're saying we want you to get me from here to there. That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to create a picture. I want you to get me from point A to point B. By the way, what it does, agentic AI, is it uses other tools, other AI tools. It can even use generative AI tools to accomplish the goal. So again, there's creating and there's doing. When it comes to generative AI and agentic AI, most of us have a very limited knowledge of how many tools are available. And there are thousands, literally, of generative AI tools alone. And there's new the other type as well. So what I've done is over the last year, I have researched over 1,200 personally using them, generative AI tools, and then additional agentic AI tools to see what is really best. Because you all are reading reviews on social media, but hey, have you used it? Do you know if it works or not? And what I did is I came up with what I consider to be the top 5 in a whole number of categories. And most of us don't even know what the categories are, much less what the top 5 technologies are. So we can talk about this later, but I created a report. You can download it for free, and you can go through it with, by the way, examples in each category of how businesses are using it to transform, not just change what they do, as well as some other tips. So if you went to AIstrategyreport.com, you could find it, or myburrus.com. We'll talk about that later. So I would review that. I just saved you a lot of time. I went through a lot of research to come up with the best ones. Take a look. So don't just use one or two tools. What we want to do is look at what's the best tool for what I'm trying to accomplish. All right.
Okay.
And in your mind, we have a productivity revolution. You need to join it. Personally, you need your organization to join it. You also need, by the way, some constraints. So as a startup, now I know big companies are just really getting into doing this. Medium-sized companies are not as good. Small companies are not good at all. You need employee guidelines, even if you only got 3 employees, 5 employees. And a lot of companies have Microsoft Copilot. And that's what this is a bigger company. They might just have that one. Oh, good. Now we have AI, we're set. No, you have a one-size-fits-all tool that can do a lot of things kind of good. What you need to do is have some other supplemental tools just for the marketing team, another set of different tools for the whatever teams that you have. That's where my list comes in. But you need guidelines for all. So here's the advice. You need some guidelines for your in-house tools, right? But don't assume that your people are not using the other tools. They're using them on their personal devices. I guarantee it right now with no guidelines. So you need to give them some guidelines on how to use the non-approved tools that they're already using so that you don't get into trouble. So that's another tip that's really important.
And would that come from like a compliance department, HR, or someone above, like this kind of guidelines? Who would you recommend to supervise the AI?
Well, I tell you what, at the end, we're going to talk about burrus.com is a place you can go. There's an email address in there. Email me and say, I'd like the guidelines. And you know what? I'll give you the guidelines for both for free. All right. Because I'm helping a lot of companies with it. Hey, why go through all that work? Let me give you some. And then you can decide what you want to use out of that and what you want to implement. So there you go.
Great. You advise so many companies. Can you share an example where your foresight helped a company turn that disruption into an opportunity that we mentioned already a bit?
Sure. There was a U.S. accounting firm. It was rated, I think, 98 out of the top 100. So it wasn't at the highest level. It was just barely into the top 100. This was about 5 years ago. And they ended up having their leadership team. There was several hundred of them. Read my Anticipatory Organization book. They got my learning system. They really got into how to use hard trends and soft trends. They liked it so much, they ended up having the entire company do it. And from that point, 5 years, they went from number 98 in the top 100 in the U.S. accounting firms to being number 1 in the world. Wow. Not bad.
Okay.
So, and if you take that, whoa, that is a giant leap forward. Myself, I like to use my own tools. Back when we first had the iPhone coming out, I created the first mobile real estate app. And I said, all right, we have this iPhone. Right now, all the apps were mainly how to make it look like a beer, 99 cents. And there was very little business applications for it. This is like in 2009 and so. And I thought, well, first of all, is it a hard trend that we'll have business apps? Yes. Is it a hard trend that the iPhone and related devices will get smarter? Yes. This is not something that's here today and gone tomorrow. This is something that's significant. So I will save the story because it's a long story, but I decided to create the real estate app. And it took 8 months to be able to generate 1.2 million US dollars a month in recurring revenue with no employees and without spending money by using the principles I'm talking about. So, I use this stuff. By the way, I ended up licensing that software to a company today that a lot of people have heard about, and that's Zillow. So my point is, hey, this stuff works. I mean, if you're a startup or already looking at investing in a startup, or you're already got a company going and you're trying to get to the next level, you need to be looking at not reacting quickly, which is agile. Remember, agility came from sport. All right. You need to be agile, yes, but in a world where change is accelerating, by the way, it's not slowing down. Being a fast reactor isn't just good enough anymore. You need to learn how to be anticipatory, how to understand what those hard trends are, how to take advantage of them. So I see this as a priority, and obviously I'm passionate about it.
It's like when they say being on time is already being late.
Yeah, exactly. Got to get there early. That's a good one. I like that.
You already touched upon a bit, but if you were to give advice to founders and tech leaders now in 2025, what signals or technologies are being maybe overlooked right now that hold real long-term potential? So like maybe one advice, like is it go into agentic AI or
Yeah.
something that's not that kind of like talked about?
Sure. Well, there's a number of things that I write about in my books that I've used myself. I mean, I write about the things that I know I've tried and worked. For example, I've got how to take your biggest problem and skip it, and I've got how opposites work better, and I've got a number of strategies. So let's take opposites. So if everybody is looking at AI, and that's where they're looking right now, I'm going to look. Well, what aren't they looking at? Are there other tools that they're powerful, but they're not looking at? In my example earlier, I talked about exoskeletons. That's a powerful tool. People aren't looking at that. I talked about, remote sensors. People aren't looking at that. In other words, the datification of everything, which is through microsensors. There is so much that you could do with personal 5G networks. So you can use 5G provided by somebody else, but maybe you don't know that you could actually create your own G network that is more secure than anything. And that could be another business model, by the way. So look at some of the other tools that exist that are not being looked at right now that are transformative. By the way, when you go to burrus.com, I got another free thing for you. Every year I put out a list of the top 25 technologies that are creating all of this transformation. You can download that for free too. So I'm not even here trying to sell you something. I'm here trying to give you something. Get that list and look through it. Think about what your business is, what your business model is. Think about what you're trying to do and think about not change, but transformation. Remember, they're all hard trends. They're growing exponentially, and many of them are growing beyond exponential speeds. And look for opportunities. Also on that list, and this is answering your question in another way, take several and combine them. In other words, let's take smart sensors, edge computing at the edge where things happen, and combine that with AI. And what if I combine that with mobile robots? They're all hard trends. What do I get? What do I get? Well, if you think about the industry you're trying to serve, you'll start getting answers. You'll start getting innovations. You'll start getting things that are going to happen. If you don't do it, someone else will.
Fascinating. Well, I want to encourage our audience again to go to your website, burrus.com, because it's full of really insightful assets that you can get just by providing an email, such as AI strategy report, really practical recommendations around AI. And great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for coming to the show and sharing these valuable insights in your story. That was all for today. I hope we will catch up in the future or on another episode or perhaps in person at the event or maybe when next time you come here to London.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.